Right, and we're back. Welcome back to Activism Uncensored. Today, we've got my good friend David on. David, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself? You were a carer before. You got involved with full civil resistance. Can you start by telling us what it is you used to do?
Yeah, I can do. So I was a care worker for children with emotional and behavioural difficulties, working in residential care. Yeah, mainly based in the outdoors, and I did that for over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Before yeah, going down this path, which I also perceive as care work. But well, I guess we'll get onto that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard you say before. It was your responsibility to safeguard children and make sure they're safe and everything. And you see civil resistance as a part of that, don't you?
Yeah, it's an extension of it. With the work, you were building positive memories for potentially those kids that we were working with, like to have some resilience in the future. But of course, if there is no livable future, then it's pointless, isn't it? So yeah, this is exactly the same thing, pretty much just an extension of it. And instead of caring for like the odd individual within the company, it's like caring for everyone and every living thing.
Hmm.
That's the way I perceive it. Yeah.
Why don't you tell our listeners how we know each other?
How do we? Well, it would be from Insulate Britain, right? We never met before
Yeah.
that. Yeah. When was the first time we met? Was it in that tent in the Manchester campgrounds?
um, yeah, I think it was in on Rybank Fields in that tent
Yes.
before in Select Britain when we were all getting to know each other.
Yeah, and we were practicing the roadblocks for the first time and working out
Oh
how to
my
do
god,
it. Yeah, that was great. That was
God,
a great afternoon in
you
the
know.
park and in the tent.
In Slate Britain, it was the time of my life. I mean, I know I feel so sorry for all the people, all the misery it caused, but at the same time, that whole experience was just incredible.
Yeah, it was the greatest
Um,
month, greatest 2 months, pretty much. like, yeah, like living by your principles and going out there and doing it again and again and again. It was amazing, wasn't it? Really, really like powerful stuff, and empowering and liberating. And the bonds that we formed were incredible, aren't they? Yeah.
so you're in full time civil resistance now. What does that look like? What do you get up to on a day to day
Well,
basis?
for the start of 2023, it's been in and out of prison. That, but hopefully a little break now. Yeah, so day to day, I don't know, it's a lot of sitting on my laptop, pretty much. Occasionally going to the library. I'm sitting on my laptop in the library, although not at the moment because I think I've been out of prison for, it's coming up to 2 weeks, so I'm still catching up with things. But yeah, I'm getting
Wow.
stuck back involved now.
Now, one of the reasons, obviously, I want to get a lot of people on here, but one of the reasons I've been excited to get you on here is because you got sent to prison for what was it? A judge asked you to promise not to do it again, and you said basically I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it again. So could you tell that from your perspective, like how that went down, and what was the reason?
Yeah, okay. So we were due. Oh, I'll tell it in a long-winded manner.
Yeah, you got a lot of time. Don't worry about it. Just
uh, so the trial was due to last Monday to Friday, a 5-day trial. It ended up being extended into the Monday. So we didn't do our closing statements on the Friday, but we judge Reed kind of set it up that we would be doing them on the Monday. So explaining that we'd not been able to like say our motivations or justifications for why we took action, why we sat on the road with Insulate Britain. So I mean, it was kind of a recurring thought throughout the week, knowing that we couldn't speak about why we were doing what we're doing. So I decided not to even give evidence. Like I didn't go up to the witness box to get say from my perspective because it just felt like there was no point if we can't say why we're doing what we're doing. Like what's the point? It just felt like a charade. So I didn't do that on Wednesday, which didn't feel good because we're in court to justify ourselves, like and say why we did what we did. But if we can't do that, then it didn't feel right. Anyway, so
Just to clarify, you couldn't talk about climate change or the reasons why you did it because the judge Silas Reed ruled that it was irrelevant
yeah,
to the
that's correct.
case,
Yeah, yeah, it's
which
bonkers,
is
isn't it?
ridiculous. Yeah, isn't it?
I mean, even now it seems ridiculous.
I
Well, it
compare it
is.
to I compare it to like if there was a child in the road with a car coming hurtling towards him and you jumped and tackled the kid out of the road and then you got arrested for assaulting the child and taken to court and you were in court and you're not allowed to mention the car.
Yeah,
It's like you have to explain why you hurt the child without mentioning the danger of the car poses. That's quite a good
yeah,
way of
yeah,
looking at it really.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy. So,
Anyway, continue.
so yeah, that was on the Wednesday. So I was thinking, oh my god, this isn't great. So expecting to do my closing statement on the Friday. And at that point, I wasn't sure what I was going to say. Even in the closing statement, whether I'd even give a closing statement or not. It just seemed a farce. It just seemed a waste of my time, and it probably was. Anyway, we didn't get around to the closing statements on the Friday. We came back on the Monday, but over that weekend, I had a chance to like assess what I wanted from from the trial, and also from myself. Like, and it just didn't feel right to like not say why we did what we did. So yeah, I had the weekend to think about it. I spoke to quite a few people, but it was a really quick turnaround. I wasn't, um, I wasn't necessarily going to do it until my co-defendants had okayed it, because obviously it could have impacted on them. Like it could have gone to a retrial. So I had to double check that they were okay with things. So come the Monday morning, I kind of had it set in my head that I would be doing it, but I just needed to double check and get their permission as well. So come Monday morning, that's a bit umming and ahhing, but then a journalist walked into the room just as I was Judge Reed was going through like who checking if we wanted our closing statements, checking just so we didn't accidentally commit contempt. So he'd spoken to the barrister, Kai's barrister, and then he spoke to Benny and then Christian. And then a journalist walked in just as he was coming to me, and I said at that point, I think I'm going to tell the truth to the jury. Which I think, well, I can't remember his reaction. I think it probably bamboozled him a bit, because he did eventually go to a recess and warned me then that it would likely lead to an immediate custodial sentence, and give me some time to think about it. So I don't know when I then, I think it got to the afternoon, and I did it. I spoke to the jury in my closing statement, the last one, about the climate crisis, fuel poverty. I think I started with fuel poverty, saying that it was estimated in 2019 that there was 7,500 deaths through fuel poverty through cold homes in the winter. And then relating that to the fact that in the case we were talking about 7,500 people potentially being delayed by buses, like the equivalent of deaths to bus diversions and people being delayed by buses. It's maddening. It's maddening. Anyway, so I did it. And he was true to his word. It was an immediate, well, it gave me a night's respite. I went back the next day for sentencing, but it was an immediate custodial. But I'd prepared for it, in my head. And it wasn't the first time I've been to prison, so.
Did he give you a chance to apologise or anything like that?
Yeah, straight away, I think. Yeah. I didn't apologise because, well, I knew the previous week, I think Steph had apologised but it didn't feel right for me to apologise, because it wouldn't have been genuine. Like, the reasons why I did what I did were sound, and I felt comfortable with the reasons why I did what I did, and I was happy to put myself in his hands. Like, he's got to live with his choices just as I have to live with mine. So didn't apologise, basically.
So you went straight to prison?
On the Tuesday,
Yeah.
I got the night to think about things, and he wanted me to seek legal advice. And then came back on the Tuesday. I think I was the first thing up. There was another Insulate Britain trial starting. I think it had started on the Monday after we'd finished. So, came back on the Tuesday, and by 10:30 I was down in the cells. I think at 12:30 I was shipped off to Thameside. So wow. It was quite straight to prison, but I was okay with that. Like, I knew, it is what it is. Yeah.
So you went to prison for committing contempt of court by talking about climate change in an Insulated Britain case.
Yeah.
That just, it really infuriates me, that, like, it really does. I can't even, honestly, I had the same trial as you. I was in the first one, and I was able to say the defining moment in human history, and he kind of like, and then the jury acquitted us. So I think it really pissed him off a little bit. So
Yeah.
you might partially have me to blame for Judge Reed's anger, but
no, that's fine. I think it's not a bad thing that I was fine with being sent to prison, and it's a good thing, isn't it? To some extent, like, it's a good thing that we're showing up, like, that we can't mention climate change in the courtroom. Like, it's showing them up for what they actually are, like sending the global south to their deaths, pretty much. Like, the legal system is complicit in this, isn't it? Not just the fossil fuel industry. It's everything. It's everything. The establishment. It's everything. Taking us down. Yeah. So it's a good thing.
yeah,
Shows them up for what they are. Yeah. Although I don't have any personal qualms with Judge Reed. Like, it is what it is. Yeah.
I mean, he's got to live with himself at the end of the day, He probably feels like he's doing the right thing. But I mean, one day, when the climate's breaking down, he's going to have to look at his grandkids in the eyes and be like, yeah, I was the one sending these people to prison. Yeah. Talking about climate change in court. So, history, well, I think history will remember people like you, to be honest. And what you've done. Yeah. I give a lot of other people credit, but I don't credit myself. It's one of those things.
Yeah. I think he's just playing his part, but I think he's just playing his part, same as we play our part to some extent. But I think, I mean, he references when I got the jury found us guilty. I never said that. So I went back to prison again for the guilty verdict, and I think he was trying to reference 5 weeks in prison served 2.5 as a deterrent, where it's not a deterrent. So I think he kind of knows that he's in a bit of a quandary. He's trying to deter us, but again, 5 weeks in prison isn't a deterrent. It's lenient. It is lenient. So I don't know. I don't know. He's in a pickle, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. It's speaking of not complying, I got sentenced to 120 hours community service for the Formula One trial, Silverstone, and I've decided that I'm not going to go. I'm not doing it. I was supposed to go yesterday, and I just thought, you know what? I'm not going. I will not comply. No so way. I'm not going. Yeah, so I made a 60-second video saying that I won't comply with this system, and that our politicians and oil executives need to be on trial for crimes against humanity. And so therefore I will not comply with this state. I will not do my unpaid work, and I don't care what you do to me. And I put it on Twitter, and I tweeted it at the Home Office on Twitter yesterday. Yeah, so
any comeback yet?
No comeback yet, but we'll see what happens. They can throw me in prison for all I care. I'm just not complying anymore. I'm not doing unpaid work, just purely on principle of Yeah.
How is your probation worker? I presume you've got a probation worker, because that's another interesting dynamic, isn't it?
Oh yeah, she's lovely. I'm not going to name her in here because I'm going to respect her privacy. But yeah, she's really lovely. She's just an average woman, really, with a job. I'm not sure she knows quite how to handle me, really, because I'm always like taking the piss a bit, like when she said, I'm going to send you to unpaid work now, I said, okay, do you mind if I take some leaflets and radicalise everybody there? And she's like, please don't do that. Yeah, but it's pretty funny, really. I kind of like winding her up.
Yeah. Mine's, I think we are novel to them. Hopefully we're a bit of a break, because we're quite clear that we're going to do it again, or at least I am, and obviously you are. So I don't understand. Yeah, it's quite hard to handle, I imagine. So hopefully, I mean, we're pleasant enough with them, but yeah, it must be quite confusing to have people in front of them saying, "Oh yeah, definitely going to offend again." Yeah, but mine's really relaxed as well. Yeah.
Now, we were in the same block team together in Insulate Britain. We were sitting on the M25 together. Got a lot of good memories. Got a lot of good memories from them. Out of all that time in Insulate Britain, are there any times that jump out at you are like the most memorable?
Well, I guess that first moment, that first day, because that was the first time I'd stepped out onto the road to block a road. Like I'd done stuff with Extinction Rebellion, very much on the fringes. So this was the first time, or that first day was the first time I was going to get arrested. Actually disrupt people, actively disrupt people. Yeah, and well, I think I don't know if you remember from the train station. We took that walk down a little footpath, and we waited near a bridge, like a little footbridge,
Yeah.
for like, I don't know, 5 minutes, and we did a grounding, and I think we started hugging each other just to say good luck before we walked off. And yeah, I found that moment really quite overwhelming. Like, yeah, I guess, yeah, there's loads of moments like that. Do you remember that time I think it was Junction 31, when there was just 9 of us, or 10 of us? When
Is that the time we had that we all came around in a circle and we had that little sing
Yeah,
song went together?
yeah,
Yeah, we had an LBC in tow.
yeah, that was an amazing one as well. I really I really enjoyed that little moment before the action as well. Yeah, and I guess the other one that comes to mind is where we had, I think it was talk radio with us, and we we walked past the roundabout where there was a police van there. I don't know how they didn't see us, because we walked past them and then went under the undergrowth underpass and then up onto the road, and they still didn't come. Like we walked brazenly past them and they didn't pick us up. I don't know why. It was obvious who we were. Yeah, that was another good one.
Hmm. Do you remember? Do you remember the one where they'd raided our house the night before and they'd got all of our plans for the Friday, and we decided to go to that junction anyway, even though they were expecting us. Do you remember? Do you want to tell your side of the story from that? Because that for me was one of the most hilarious days ever.
Did we get a taxi? Did we get taxis?
Yeah, we got. I think we had like 2 or 3 taxis. Yeah.
Yeah, we jumped out
And we
of
got
the
dropped off
taxis.
at the petrol station.
Yeah, and then just started walking. And the police were there. They jumped out of the vans. Not enough of them, because I think, how many were we at that day? Like 16 or something?
18.
18.
We're 18.
Okay. Yeah, we just kept on walking, didn't we? That was great fun. Like, I can't remember who got grabbed first, but then we were stepping round. We initially crossed that first road, didn't we? Which wasn't there wasn't the right road to block, and then I think 7 of us got on. I just got stopped before stepping out onto the road at the traffic lights. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was quite good fun. I felt bad for the people that got stopped early on and just had to sit down, but we got on.
Oh God, yeah.
They were annoyed.
I remember, like, we're all casually walking towards the junction, and the police, like, are on the sat in the car, like, hey, they're over there, and they come around. I remember a copper jumped in front of us and went, "Stop!" And everyone just starts walking around him casually, and they start grabbing people.
Yeah.
And when they grab someone, the person just sits on the floor, so they're like, oh shit, now what,
Yeah.
And what's it now? I remember, like, a copper, like, squeezing past everyone and grabbing the person at the front, and everyone's just walking around them. And I remember a copper saying, "There's too many of them. There's too many of them."
Yeah.
Yeah, and by the time we got to the first part of the junction, like, the person, I won't name names, the person who was leading the group had been stopped. He was at the front of the group, and I think me and you had, like, kind of taken it upon ourselves, like, individually, to kind of be like, right, come on, we'll lead the rest of the way now. And it ended up with, there was only a couple of us in it. Like, was it like seven of us who made it onto Petrol Road?
Yeah. They were on us quickly then. Did some people get glued on? I can't remember. And I remember.
I don't want to name. Let's try not to name any names because we don't have their consent to name them. But
Okay.
there was one of our group who did glue onto the road, but then the coppers were there so fast it just ripped them clean off.
I
Yeah, they
remember
were happy
gluing to
about
someone
that.
at the side of the road because we got grabbed just before we got on. Yeah, gluing to someone's hand rather than the road. But they just picked us both up and walked us to the van. Yeah, yeah, bonkers. Was that the second time we'd been there? Because we got the bus there once and stayed on the bus past all the police, didn't we? Just stayed on the bus. Oh, let's not get off. Too many police. I don't know
I don't
whether we
remember that
went
one.
back. Oh, right, okay, yeah, that definitely happened. We got there from public transport and just stayed on the bus. I don't know whether that was the second time we'd been there or the first. Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't remember that one. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, it was the exact same place. Maybe they got our plans already. Exact same place, exact same roundabout. We just got the bus there instead of taxis. And as we were coming up to the roundabout, the bus was going straight on past the petrol station where we got dropped off, and we could see all the police vans there already. So yeah, we just stayed on the bus. We might have had a day off actually because we didn't. I can't remember if we went anywhere else. Yeah, but those things happen. Yeah.
How many times have you been sent to prison now for your climate activism?
4. So
Wow!
well,
Holy
not for long
shit!
periods though. First one was for 6 days for an injunction break at Kingsbury. Second one was because I missed a court date and got put on remand until the next court date. I think that was for 8 days. Then 28 days for contempt in February, and then 18 days for the guilty verdict for public nuisance last month. So April. Yeah, so not big. I guess the next time is going to get ever increasing sentence lengths, but I'm kind of used to prison now to some extent. Like,
It's not bad, is it really?
I mean, it's pretty. Are we allowed to swear?
You can swear, but we'll probably bleep them out.
Okay, it's pretty rubbish. I mean, it is really, really quite rubbish, but it's manageable. I think the lows. Well, the lows may become unmanageable, but the lows are generally pretty manageable, or at least for me. And there is some humanity and happiness in there. Yeah, like, so it's not all bad, but it is pretty grim.
Yeah. How did you deal with prison? Like, how did you find the other prisoners? How did they treat you?
Well, I think it's reflective of society, as in general responses from society. Some prisoners are supportive, interested. Some are interested and then not interested, and some just won't interact with you, which is fine. Like, it doesn't. Yeah, it is what it is. So, yeah, but generally fine. Like, I've had no negative. Nothing negative from other inmates. Like, generally, because we're quite smiley. They're quite smiley with us and somewhat interested. And then, you don't know, you just get used to the same faces. You say hello to some people. You have a chat occasionally, and you just get on with things, don't you? Like, I stick to my routine, and then, yeah, just get on with things. Like, so yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, I mean, I was in prison for 5.5 months last year, and you kind of get used to it, really, don't you? After a bit, it just becomes like normal life.
Well, it is. It's our lives at that point. Like, it is. I suppose the one. If there is a definite upside to prison, it's that you're kind of forced to contact people on the outside, and have structured conversations with people that you care about on the outside. So that's kind of good. Because sometimes in normal life on the outside, you kind of let that slip by the wayside. But yeah, having that regular contact with people on the outside, I think that's generally quite good. And then there's, like, you're exercising. You may not be eating that healthily, but I did so much exercise. Like, I had to take rest days because I was doing that much exercise. So yeah, there are some upsides. And so yeah, it does. Although, I mean, it probably does ground you down because you refused to get a job in there, didn't you? Yeah, I think I'd have to get a job eventually.
Yeah. It's just the idea. It's a privately run company, and if you're working for £2 a day, like if you're doing laundry for £2 a day, that's an employee that they don't have to hire because you're doing that job for them, and that's just more profit for the shareholders. So it's like there's no way on earth I was we're gonna get a job. It's like get a job. Like they could do it. I don't care. Like take the TV. I hated the damn thing anyway.
Did you not enjoy the time out the cell, or were you okay just in the cell?
I was okay in the cell. I mean, eventually they put me in an art class, which was quite nice. I said
Right.
I'll do education. You know, that's all right. I don't mind
Yeah.
education.
Okay. Okay. So if there's an alternative, I think definitely time out the cell is preferable.
Mm.
Although it depends on the entertainment options, but time out the cell was always good.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, the time during into Britain that I look back on the most fondly is when we had that house in the centre of London. I can't remember where it was now, but we
Oh, Ilford.
all 18 of us were in one house,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was like a 3-story house or something. I think something like that.
I
Yeah.
remember it. I
Uh,
remember it.
yeah. Oh God. I wish I could go back and do it all over again. You know, I would do it all over again in a heartbeat.
I think we'd only have 2 arrests and then we'd be we'd be banged up this time round. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
definitely would, wouldn't we? I
Yeah.
mean, well, people are never going to be able to do what we did in Insulate Britain for as long as we did it.
No. That'd stop us. Yeah. It was why it was such a important moment. And yeah, if we could do it again with like, I don't know, 200 people racking up 10 arrests, like, yeah, we'd have a real impact. But yeah, time's moved on, hasn't it? We've missed that moment, we've missed that opportunity. Although some good has come of it, of course. Yeah.
Well, it inspired a lot of people to join us, really, from, Insulate Britain became Just Stop Oil.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were inspired from our actions in Insulate Britain. I met a lot of people who've said, they saw us and what we were doing, and that's, why they've joined, really.
Yeah. And even what we're doing in the aftermath, like, you've spent a significant amount of time in prison and able to share that experience with others now, because it's unfortunately is likely to keep happening. Yeah.
But yeah, this podcast is a place for people like yourself to be able to tell the full story without, on the news you kind of get like 30-second snippet to explain why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
But here you can have an hour to really flush out what you want to say.
Yeah. I'd be happy with 30 seconds. I'd be happy with 0 seconds. Yeah.
So, can we talk more about, like, you were working as a carer and you had a good career. I assume it was a good career and everything, and you're doing with what you're doing what you wanted to do with your life, and you've just kind of like you've just kind of put all that to one side. What was it that, like, what were the emotions like that drove you towards doing that? Putting your career to one side and kind of like through in a way, because you're getting arrested in criminal record, you're kind of throwing it away, aren't you? Really, like working with children.
Well, I don't know, and it's likely I won't find out, just because it's too important to keep doing this rather than go back to like normal. So the emotions involved, I don't know. There was anger at the injustice that is happening and will continue to happen in increasing manner. Despair, like, that we're throwing it all away, that things could be better. Anger, despair. It feels weird to think back, because I mean, I've been involved so long now that it's hard to think of those initial motivations.
Yeah, I think it's good for us to revisit those initial motivations and how we felt about it when we first signed up, because a lot of people who watch this podcast will be will probably be at the stage where they're considering taking action and signing up for Just Stop Oil or whatever group they want to sign up to, and they can usually relate to how you were when you first signed up. Like, I've said it many times on the show, but I say it again. For me, I feel quite a strong feeling of love for life on Earth and for humanity and for humanity's potential and for the biodiversity of the planet, and things like coral reefs and the jungles, the insects, the complexity and beauty of life. And I felt like quite a strong loss at the idea of that all collapsing and dying. And for me personally, I just kind of got to the point where I thought like I flat out refuse to stand aside and let that happen. Like, over my dead body, am I going to let that all go to shit?
Mm.
And I'm going to do whatever it takes. And the defining moment for me was I was weighing this up in the Intellect Britain talk, and I asked myself, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, with food shortages and famine, will I look back at this time and regret my actions? Will I regret getting arrested and getting a criminal record and thrown in prison and all the loss of earnings that came with that? Will I regret any of that? And the answer was absolutely flipping not.
Yeah.
I
think someone within Just Stop Oil has said, I only regret the actions that I don't do, which resonates with me as well. I completely get that perspective. And also your perspective of love. That is true. That resonates with me, and that's very important. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any nieces or nephews or children that you're doing this for? Or children that you work from your work that you're doing, or are you doing it for all of them, really?
Well, I suppose that was a major motivating element in the start. The potential impact on two nephews. I won't elaborate on that too much. But yeah, that is definite. Is definite motivation. I think for anyone new watching this, thinking if I should get involved, obviously it's a very personal decision, and everyone's on this journey. We're probably quite down the deep end now, or probably not right at the deep end, but we're pretty much in the thick of it. But I mean, it's a steady journey. So and there's no pressure at any stage. We've been to prison, but it's not the ask, is it? Just trying to salvage what can be salvaged within your capabilities, and then maybe push a bit on beyond your capabilities occasionally. That is all we're trying to ask of people, as to say, to salvage what can be salvaged.
If you're watching this, I want you to ask yourself, will you be able to say that you've done everything that you possibly can? In a decade or 2 decades, will you be able to look children in their eyes and say to them, you tried everything you possibly could? That's a big motivating factor for me. Quite a big one, yeah, but...
I mean, I still ask that of myself, so...
Yeah, and I ask it of myself as well. I think the answer to that to myself is yes. I mean, I could have done more. I could have done more spreadsheets and paperwork, but I'm not much help to people. I'm not very much help to people when it comes to spreadsheets and paperwork anyway. So I'm better at being boots on the ground and having conversations like this.
Yeah, that's a happy place, being on the ground doing actions, isn't it?
That's the easy place, isn't it? Really.
Well, to some extent, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's the hard work that goes on in the background that is, challenging. It needs to be a balance, and needs to be what's right for you. Yeah.
There are a lot of roles people can take that doesn't actually involve getting arrested or don't actually involve a criminal record. I've had a few people on who aren't arrestable, but have actually made a massive difference. My partner works in RIPS, Rebels in Prison Support.
Yeah.
And they do an amazing job, providing that support to people in prison who've taken action, but also their families as well. So if you are watching this, consider helping out with whatever skills you are. If you're good with spreadsheets, then we need you quite badly. If you're a HR person, we need you. If you're good with tech, we need you. There's lots of places you can. Lots of gaps that need filling. It's not all about getting arrested, but getting arrested is the fun part, really.
Yeah. Mm.
How many arrests are you on now, David?
27.
Ooh, I'm on 25.
25, okay. But if you get arrested now, you're straight back on remand pretty much, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm screwed now, yeah. I get arrested now.
So whereas my bail conditions are pretty okay at the moment, I've got this probation supervision order thing, but I don't think the consequences of breaking that are going to be too inhibitive. So yeah, I might be able to scoot ahead of you even more soon.
Oh.
27.
I'm really jealous right now because I can't do anything with this. Like, when I came out of prison, my bail condition said that I weren't allowed to talk about protesting with any person or any organisation by any means whatsoever.
Yeah.
That means even like with my dad, I couldn't talk about protesting with anybody. Like,
that's crazy.
Unbelievable, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And the day those conditions changed, this podcast was born. Where we talk about protesting continuously and continuously encourage people to sign up for action.
Yeah.
Sign up for action with Just Stop Oil. I might get in trouble for saying that, but I really don't care, so,
How many convictions have you got, Josh?
I don't know.
25.
4, 5.
Okay, yeah. I think I've got 5 criminal convictions and then 3 civil convictions. Yeah.
I don't even know, to be honest. I don't really care to even keep count.
Well, I kind of keep track because it's quite a good ratio. 27 arrests for only 8 convictions. That's not too bad.
It's not, is it?
Only 1 in 3 pretty much has gone to actual conviction. Thank you, Hertfordshire Police, I think, because they dropped all our charges, didn't they?
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
I miss, like, when you come out of the police station and everyone's there waiting for you. That's the best feeling ever, wasn't it?
It was, as in, yeah. They used to take us to the same police station. Oh, sometimes they took us to the same police station in Insulate Britain, that's for sure. And when we were out and we got out as a team, or a big group of us, or a big majority of us anyway, that was wonderful. And then travelling back to accommodation, getting food, it was, special moments, yeah.
I'd always look at Sheiky and be like, pint? I think I became a borderline alcoholic during that campaign. Like,
oh dear, I remember you sleeping in some odd places.
Yeah,
you slept by the fridge.
Yeah, that was actually quite comfortable, actually. Yeah, it's a little tiny box room, wasn't it, where the fridges were.
Yeah.
Because I snored really loudly and nobody wanted to share a room with me.
And then you must have got disturbed at like 7 o'clock by people getting milk out for the day.
It was hummus. They were going for the hummus. Yeah, people would like step over me to get to the hummus in the fridge.
Yeah, crazy.
Those goddamn vegans and their hummus.
Oh dear. Yeah, amazing.
Can I ask, so, how do you feel about hunger striking? Because I know I've got a feeling that there's going to be some hunger campaigns focused around hunger striking in the future. Like, is that something that you see yourself doing, or are you not too keen on that?
I don't know. I don't.
I
don't think-
personally, I
Yeah.
personally will not be hunger striking. Like, yeah, that's just my call. But I know there's quite a few people who have done hunger strikes already, and people who are planning on doing. And Emma Smart did like a 36-day hunger strike or something like that. She's gonna come on the show next, actually.
Okay. Cool.
So it'd be good to hear her perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how do you feel about, first of all, how do you feel about hunger striking as a tactic, and then how do you feel about you hunger striking?
So there's numerous elements. Like Angus Road did 37 days outside Parliament, and he got, off the back of that, he got debate in Parliament, which only 10% of MPs showed up to. So I don't know. It's a tricky one. I'm not inclined to do it, mainly because I'm so thin already. But equally reading up about it, like I think it was in the 1970s or the 1980s, like the Irish hunger strikes. Like I think there were quite a lot of deaths from that. This is probably not historically accurate, but I think close to double figures. Nine people died either in prison through hunger striking as part of like the Republican movement.
And the government just let them die, basically, didn't they? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't personally think it's a good tactic, really.
Who knows? Like everyone's scrabbling around to try and find what works. Like we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's an opinion that like that sacrificial element may be a stimulus to a broader movement, but yeah, we just don't know.
I mean, look at Win Bruce. You know who Win Bruce was?
Self-immolation.
Yeah. I mean, his sacrifice didn't really. I've not really seen any movement springing out of his sacrifice.
No.
I don't know. I guess we don't know what, I don't know what the answer is and what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I'm kind of leaning towards mass partition, civil disobedience, like closing down motorways and M25. But I feel like we've been using the right tactics, but we've just not had enough people and enough energy to keep it going. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Like, yeah, it was all about the numbers. But I think, I don't know. It seems like we're improving things and putting in systems that could be replicable if the numbers were there. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to get quite disheartened doing what we're doing. Like, but I think we've already gone past that. The most disheartening thing by accepting that everything's completely at risk. So I mean, once you accept that, like everything else is I think that's the thing to accept, and then everything else just flows off the back of that. So I mean, numbers is frustrating, but ultimately, what we can't do much else. We can only do what we can do, and and hopefully that's somewhat enough. Maybe, but I think most likely it's not going to be enough. Like, I think I accept that as well.
So what do you think won't be enough?
Well, even if we get a victory, like I think, it's not going to be enough to like prevent mass suffering.
I think that's pretty much locked in now. Whatever we do, really.
Yeah.
Especially for Africa and parts of Asia, they're going to be unlivable. As you know, we're just with the heating that's already locked in.
Yeah.
But I guess it's about, if we start now, there's still a lot of lives we could save. There's still a lot of people that we could relocate early There's still a lot of systems that we could put in place, like rainwater harvesting and really building resilience into communities. But I think who was it that said that we need to we need to be on like a war-like footing. I can't remember who that was now.
No,
Do you
not
know?
sure. No, not. I mean, many people have probably said it, but
Yeah, we need to be going all out really.
yeah, yeah,
One of the ways I justify it to myself is even if we are passing the point of no return, like the more awareness we bring to this problem, the more brains are working on a solution. There's probably a lot of brilliant people in the world who haven't quite yet realised how serious the situation is.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
awareness, more brains on the problem means there could be solutions found that we haven't even thought of yet.
Yeah,
And it's a very time sensitive issue as well, isn't it?
definitely. Yeah, it's massive. It's bigger than massive. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask, in your head, is there like a cut-off point where you think, like, have you got a year in mind where you would decide, where you'd think about giving up and throwing the towel in? Or are you just going to keep going indefinitely? That's a pretty nasty question not to ask.
No.
Really,
It's a good question. It's a good question because, well, of course, you consider that, don't you? Because, or at least I've considered it. So I suppose then you're looking at what else is there. So, I mean, the alternatives beyond what we're doing, I perceive them as either preparing for collapse, like, or death. Like, so there is no alternative for me. Like, yeah, you just gotta keep going on. Yeah, I suppose, yeah, and that is what it is. Yeah, just gotta. Yeah, so I've got no year in mind. Like, I'll just, I suppose, like, it's hard doing this. Like, it is hard. It's not easy. Going in and out of prison. It's not easy doing the work that we're doing. So I suppose some aspect like of of a break. But then yeah, I think ultimately like people need to know that we're at risk. And as you said, like yeah. Do you have what's your answer to that question?
See, I think like 2025, 2026. I think by like 2027, like, if we've not seen some radical change, then like my dream is to have my own sailing boat, Like that's what I want to do.
Right.
And right now that dream's on hold.
Yeah.
From the way I look at it is plan A is save the world, and plan B is survive the death of the world.
Okay.
So I've got to ask myself the question: when do I go from trying to stop or prevent the mass death and suffering to just trying to make sure that me and my loved ones survive? And that's a tricky one, really. I think one thing we could all do is maybe look at stocking up on some non-perishables and maybe hiding them under the floorboard or something like that. But I guess that's quite pessimistic, really. Don't look at it like that.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean by preparing for collapse. Like, I don't think if societal breakdowns happens that I mean there may be a lucky few, but or more of yeah, I don't know. There may be some survivors, but I think generally even the people preparing for those scenarios are gonna like have to have their houses raided and like search for all the food and stuff like along those lines. But yeah, so I don't think even.
I think people like us who like when the population realizes like, oh, we're screwed, but there's these people over here and they've known it's been coming for 20 years. I bet they've got some supplies.
Well,
I guess.
Yeah, maybe, but Probably not us, because we have no money by then, so we will have eaten all our surprise. Probably some of the rich people that are still left in the world who may have been stock up a bit more. I'd go for them. No. Yeah, I don't know. It's all uncertain. But yeah, no end date. I mean, that might change. I mean, obviously, we've already said that it's too late. Like, yeah. So who knows? Who knows what the future will bring? Yeah, I don't know.
So we're almost at the end of the hour now. We've got about 7 minutes left. If there was one thing that you wanted to say to people in the future, because I like to think these videos are a way of immortalizing people's ideas and words, and this video might outlive me and you, and it might be studied by future generations. So, just on the off chance it is there anything that you would like to say to future generations?
I hope you've been watching on double speed. Poignant. I don't know, Josh. I've never thought about that. I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I guess that we're trying.
Can I tell you what I would say?
Go on.
So I'd say, like, we are the people who tried to, protect the living world for you and your children. We're the people who sacrificed everything we had. Our liberty, our careers, our mental health in some cases. Yeah, like, one of the reasons I wanted to create this podcast is so, like, a lot of these people in this movement, they don't get a chance to be seen or heard. It's only really the spokespeople who get seen and heard. But yeah, we are the people who tried. If we win or lose, it was people like yourself and people like me who really give it our all. And we act out of love.
I'll let you speak for me then, Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with those sentiments. Yeah. I'm happy not being spokes and having my words heard, though. So, although that's contradictory by being on this, yeah.
Well, we've got about 4 minutes left of this podcast, this episode. It's been great to get you on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, appreciate all
How do you
all
feel
the
like
stuff you've done. Yeah.
And likewise, I appreciate everything you've done as well. And everything you continue to do, working behind the scenes. Do you think you're going to continue to do arrestable action? Silly question, really.
Yeah, like I said earlier, my bail conditions aren't too strict, so yeah, I think I'm willing to risk. Yeah, basically yes. Because it's important, and yeah.
Okay, well, we'll leave it here. I'll just say to anybody who's watching, if you've got this far into the episode and you like the content that we produce, please consider liking this video, subscribing to the YouTube channel, and we now have a Patreon, which is in the link to the video below. So if you want to help support us, please consider donating on Patreon. You get exclusive content on there. We're going to be doing like some behind the scenes stuff and how we got started and stuff like that. But yeah, thank you for watching, and like and subscribe. Do you want to say a final goodbye?
Yeah, thank you. Goodbye. Cheers.